All right, welcome everyone to our work session. We've got a lot of exciting things to talk about today. I'll go ahead and kick us off with item 1, which is our Public Art Citizens Advisory Board recommendation to award and fund Phase 1 Utility Box Art Installation, Resolution number 24-1719, and I'll turn it over to Director Johnson.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and folks in the audience. Giving you a little bit of backstory. Going back to August of 2022, the Red Bank City Commission established by resolution a public arts citizen advisory board, it's a mouthful, who were tasked with not only identifying appropriate locations and themes for public art in public spaces, but they were also tasked with ensuring the city's established procurement procedures are followed. I believe it is a fair statement to say that all board members now have a better understanding of why government wheels tend to turn slow. From my perspective and everyone here, there can be no rush when transparency and accountability of public funds are a priority. On your agenda tonight, you'll find a resolution being presented to you by the Public Art Citizen Advisory Board, which if passed will initiate Red Bank's first public art installation project. The resolution itself provides specific details, including the project's public solicitation, number of submittals received, and the board's formal evaluation process, which led to the resolution for your consideration this evening. What this resolution does not capture is the enthusiasm shared by all of its board members for having public art in public spaces in Red Bank. I would like to take a moment and welcome the art board members who are in attendance this evening for your work session. We have Tessa Ross, our chair, Larry Miller, Courtney Workman, and Megan Ledbetter. And a few more of members may be here later on this evening, just due to scheduling conflicts. Amy Griffith and Tyler Rogers. So on behalf of the city, yes, we want to thank you for your commitment to Red Bank, and more so your volunteering of time as a public art board member. So for their first public art endeavor, the board identified a theme, which is our southern burbs, for installation on traffic control signal boxes at 4 highly visible locations through Red Bank. After a request for proposal was formally released and opened, the board received proposed design submittals from 19 artists. The evaluation process, therefore, encouraged a more robust and interesting evaluation. So start to finish, the process leading to this evening's resolution has been a journey indeed. With all this being said, let's take a look at the 4 selected artists' designs and their intended locations for installation as proposed by the resolution before you this evening. The first one is artist Amanda Brazier, titled Call and Respond. This particular design is proposed to be installed at the Dayton Boulevard and Hedgewood, which is also more readily identified as across from Ace Hardware. One of our next artists, let's look at Andy Kerr. Her title is My Backyard Birds. This is to be installed on Dayton Boulevard and Signal Mountain Road, also identified as across the street from Waffle House. So our next artist, Jessalyn Beasley. Her title is A Walk to Stringer's Ridge. This is to be installed at Dayton Boulevard in Morrison Springs, also identified as being across the street from the meeting house or below Food City. So, but unfortunately, due to some conflicting in schedules, some of our artists have not been able to attend this evening. And our 4th artist is Karen Estes. Hers is titled Mysterious Little White Bird. This design is to be installed at the Dayton Boulevard and Memorial, which is also identified at the Taco Bell traffic light. So, moving on, the resolution proposed tonight for award and installation of public art has a total cost not to exceed $5,200. This includes printing and installation of the 4 selected designs in a total amount of $3,121 and a stipend award of $500 to each artist for their original designs, with a total stipend award of $2,000. Upon completion of the installations, it is proposed to further highlight through a variety of sources to include social media platforms, newsletters, anywhere and however we can celebrate the public art installation. So although this project for initial public art is not a budgeted item, and nor is it supported by grant funding, It does, if approved, establish a portfolio of success for the Public Art Board to seek future grant funding opportunities where to be competitive in the realm of grants, experience does matter. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Director
Thank you.
Johnson. Any questions?
Can I just comment that I'm very excited that 2 of the artists are Red Bank residents. So we will have art in Red Bank by Red Bank artists and neighbors. So that's really exciting.
I'm especially excited to see Jesselyn Beasley. I actually own one of her books,
Okay.
children's book about birds. So she's particularly well suited to the call in this case. I want to thank our board for the considerable time, effort, and energy that they put into preparing this call to artists and then making the selection recommendations as well. I know it's been a long road for us and for you.
I think from a procurement practice, when we release RFPs, we get standard, expected numbers of submittals. Even I was quite overwhelmed by the total of 19 artists submitted considerations for design. So that really helps that momentum as new call to artists go out. We know that there's a portfolio of artists that are interested in art projects.
Allows our public art advisory committee to be very choosy as well of selecting really high quality designs. All the ones that you showed us today on the slides really look fantastic, and I look forward to seeing them installed.
Yes. And I apologize, my PDFs are not as vibrant as they could be. But again, once the application is installed, if approved this evening, then we will make sure and celebrate that in an electronic format so everyone can see how vibrant it really is.
Excellent.
I have a question. Will they be actually, this is layman's terms, drawing on the boxes, or is it laid out on a sticky pad that goes around it? Because I've
It's
seen the
considered a
sticky.
wrap.
Wrap,
And
okay.
a professional design
Okay.
printing company actually digitizes and prints that.
Okay.
It's cut to fit the exact
I
box.
had seen that before, so that was just
Yeah, that's
curious.
the technique that's been used in the downtown Chattanooga boxes is the same. It's similar to the way you'd wrap a vehicle. So it's designed for outside, weather resistant, environment, UV protectant. And it has the dual benefit of, being designed for that outdoor environment, but also not gumming up any of the hinges or mechanisms of the utility box itself that needs to remain accessible. And then it has a third benefit that the artist themselves does not have to stand out there in the August heat hand painting the design on, which if we were to hand paint boxes, which there are cities that have done that as well, it would be fair to recompensate the artists far more than $500 stipend that we are compensating them for the permission to use the digital design for this wrap
Yes.
that's being installed by wrap professionals.
Yes. So I think from my experience at RFPs and artist experience with digital and technical formatting, I think it was a good learning curve for both of us to be involved. And I know our chairperson Tessa did a good job of helping me understand what all the graphics and all the technical aspects are when we start asking for, especially digital art. That's a realm that most governments don't have a lot of exposure into.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
I can't wait to see what we do with the retaining wall.
Oh.
Church.
I did see that on the to-do list for the Art Advisory Committee. All right, if there's no more comments, then we'll take it to the item number 2. Nonprofit Citizens Advisory Board award fiscal year 24 ARPA grant funds to nonprofits. Resolution number 24-1724. Director Johnson.
Thank you. Again, we want to give you some backstory. In March of 2022, the commission did by resolution adopt a multi-year spending strategy for received ARPA funds to include a total allocation of $150,000 to nonprofit endeavors serving the citizens of Red Bank. In December of that year, 22, the commission established by resolution a nonprofit citizens advisory board who were willing to actively participate and were tasked with identifying nonprofit or charitable organizations providing services to the citizens of Red Bank and that are eligible to receive charitable donations for the benefit of the city and its residents. Furthermore, they were tasked with ensuring compliance with state statutes to authorize charitable donations. So again, it's a fair statement to say all board members have truly got a better understanding of how government wheels can turn a little slow. Again, transparency and accountability are a priority in any endeavor we take on, especially with advisory boards. So let's take a moment to recognize and welcome our nonprofit citizen advisory board members who were able to attend with us tonight. We have Hillary Evans, our chairperson. I think Kendra Webster is here and Freddie Hanner. A couple of boards that may or may not have made it. Lisa Amboli and Lori Kyle. So again, thank you for your time, energy, and commitment to the city of Red Bank. On your regular agenda this evening, Commissioners, you will find a resolution being presented to you by this nonprofit citizens advisory board, which if passed, will authorize the award of previously allocated ARPA funds toward nonprofit endeavors. This initial $50,000 annual award has been vetted through the 2024 Red Bank nonprofit grant application process, which was established, evaluated, and now recommended by your Red Bank Nonprofit Citizens Advisory Board. Attached to the resolution you will find more specific details on each of the 8 proposed recipients, to include a brief statement about the organization, its mission, and its intended objectives for the ARPA grant funding in Red Bank. Additionally, attached to the resolution, you will find a draft memorandum of understanding, which is to be implemented with each grant recipient, which reflects their full scope of work to be performed, and more specifically of the award to include audit compliance and final reporting details on how the ARPA awarded funds were successfully utilized in direct support to citizens of Red Bank. Mind you, this is federal funds coming from ARPA, so some of those, we are the recipient, they will become sub-recipients. So they do fall under those same reporting, audit controls, single audit issues that we do. So that will be part of their memorandum of understanding. So additionally, upon approval, each organization will be highlighted in the Red Bank monthly newsletter over the next several months, which will help us to bring more awareness to each of the agencies that are awarded and their support to Red Bank. So as recommended by the Red Bank Nonprofit Citizens Advisory Board, the 2024 Nonprofit ARPA Grant Fund recipients with awarded amounts are as follows. So I will ask, as I call your agency name, and you, if you will stand up to be recognized. Our first one is Be the Change Youth Initiative. They are recommended for a $10,000 award, and I believe Deetra Catlett is here.
She's not here yet.
She's not here yet. Downside Up Incorporated, a $10,000 award, and that is McKenna. I got the names backwards, I apologize. McKenna Catlett. Chambliss Center for Children, $5,000. Katie Hardison is here. The Learning Gardens at Red Bank Elementary, $5,000. I believe Lindsay Hagan is here. McKinney Animal Center for $5,000, and Inga Brick is here.
Bricky.
Northside Neighborhood House for $5,000, and Sarah Hall is here. Porch Incorporated, $5,000, and Ann Rico, I believe, is here. And the last recipient will be Waterways for $5,000 with Terry and Evans. So I will remind you, this is the first award, as was originally allocated, was a total of 150. So coming up next year will be 2025, and the last one will be 2026.
And there'll be a new application and award process each of those subsequent years.
Yep, it will start all over again.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Johnson? Comments?
I just want to say thank you to all of these nonprofits and school organizations that are serving our community and have been and really helped them through COVID. That's what these funds are, COVID relief funds from the federal government. And so I just want to say thank you.
Well, let's not forget about all of the volunteers on the committees who had to go through all of that.
Absolutely.
And, you know, this is just, it's good to see a plan come together. It really is. It really is. I mean, this is, many hands lightening the load. But there's a big thanks for all of those people that are, lighting our load, basically. So thank you.
Thank you.
So in between work session and regular, if we can grab a picture with commissions and the attendees here this evening, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no more questions, then we'll move on to item 3, introduction of and financial update from CFO Chris Pickle.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm here to introduce your new CFO, Chris Pickle. Chris is a Georgia native by birth, but moved to the Volunteer State for high school and has been here ever since. Chris first gained an interest in accounting and finance when she worked in a small consignment store, doing a lot of things, including working with money and bookkeeping, and the hook was set. From there, she went to work for a private finance company, which grew into a national company. In the 25 years she worked there, Chris wore many hats, gaining a multitude of experience in all aspects of accounting: accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll, cash management, bank and general ledger reconciliation, account analysis, financial statements, budgeting, forecasting, sales and use tax, supervising and training other employees, assisting the treasury manager and making and other tasks in the treasury and financial reporting departments. When it came time for Chris to move on, she went to work for Robert Half as a consultant to companies that had a gap to fill in their accounting staff. In that capacity, she worked as a senior accountant for a local chemical company for 2 years, doing financial analysis for the accounting and sales teams and acting as a bridge between the two. Her next assignment was here in Red Bank. In fact, currently she's still a Robert Half employee, will be until the 3rd of September when she becomes a bona fide City of Red Bank employee, where she found her perfect fit. She has lent her many years of experience to the role of CFO and has already learned much about working in the public sector. She plans to continue down that path, earning her CMFO certification in the next year. Commissioners, I present CFO Chris Pickle for her first update.
Thank you, Martin, for the wonderful introduction, and good evening, commissioners. I'm nervous, so please bear with me because this is my first time.
You got this.
Well, we'll just be mean to you. Nothing to be worried about.
Get it out. We're both
Nothing to
okay.
be worried
So if you have, can you put them up on these? I'm looking at this. So this is the year-to-date through June 2024. So starting at the top left, it begins with revenues, and in the following pages it goes expenditures, and then a summary of the other funds. So first we start with the general fund. So the first section is revenues, and these are the local taxes, not just, well, I guess they are mostly taxes. And in the second section is state taxes, which we receive our share from the state collected taxes. And then the other sources are in the third section here. So as you can see, the first column is 2023. The next column is 2024, and those two are highlighted in yellow. And then you have the 2024 budget and how that compares percentage-wise to the number that we actually hit. And then in the last column, it's a surplus or deficit from the previous year. So it looks like altogether for the general fund revenue, you can see the details there, but altogether it was $11,100,632 for revenues. On the next page, we have the expenditures, kind of laid out the same way. So the first section is judicial, legislative, finance, and admin, insurance, police, and fire. Then you have public works and the sub-departments underneath there. And then you have the parks underneath that. So altogether, the expenditures were $10,581,844, and that leaves a surplus this year in the general fund of $518,788. On the third page, you have just a summary. It's just revenues and expenditures. I didn't have those itemized for each of the other funds. So we've got solid waste sanitation, and they are actually at a deficit, which is normal. State Street Aid was also at a deficit, which is normal. Stormwater, which is actually at a surplus by just a little bit, $35.97. The Drug Enforcement Fund, which is also at a deficit this year for the expenditures, and the impound fund, which didn't really have much of anything except for just revenue, so that's a surplus. There's not much activity in that fund. Altogether, so the summary of all the funds will be at the bottom of the third page. So altogether for all the funds, so the revenues were $13,824, and the expenditures were $12,787,000 and $787,212 for a surplus of $343,612 for the fiscal year of 2024. So a couple of key points I wanted to highlight and call attention to within these details. And the first is being city court. So city court revenue this year was up by $54,000, a little over $54,000 from the previous year in 2023. And that can be largely or wholly attributed to the work that's being done by the court clerk team. Excuse me, of Alicia Donahue and Allie Hindman, I think is how you pronounce her last name. They've been working with individuals to implement and execute payment plans and tailoring solutions to avoid rearrest, which could, of course, incur more fines and fees. The court staff, especially Alicia, are doing a great job in this area, as well as keeping up with all the other projects that are on their plates. They have a lot of things that they've got working over there right now. Second, we have received a large reimbursement from TDEC, which is the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, the grants for the third quarter expenditures on drain improvements. So thanks to the diligence and perseverance of Leslie Johnson, the Director of Community Development, which we heard from earlier. She wears a lot of hats as well. We received our $453,000 reimbursement. So, and she worked with TDEC to submit the invoices, and she kept track of the status with follow-up emails and calls. So thank you, Leslie, for your continued hard work on that project. And last, the interest earnings in 2024 were up by $119,000 from 2023. And this can be attributed to the previous finance director's commitment to making the most of taxpayers' money by reducing the amount of interest we pay on debt and increasing the interest we receive from maintaining interest-bearing savings accounts. And that goes hand in hand with continual research to find the best interest rates. My goal is to continue that excellent financial stewardship of public finances while maintaining the long-standing tradition of growing reserve funds and operating under a sound financial plan.
Thank you, Ms. Pickle.
Wonderful.
Any questions for our CFO?
Is this where we get to be mean to her?
Now's your chance.
Amazing
Yeah.
first financial report. We
Yeah.
appreciate you coming
Well,
up.
well, welcome aboard. How's that?
Yes.
How's that? Welcome aboard.
And it's my understanding that we'll be receiving regular financial updates from you at commission meetings, the second meeting of every month. All right. So also interested citizens in our financial process, keep your eye on the second meeting of each month from here on out. All right, moving on to our next item of business, number 4, introduction of new city service, collection of used oil and tires. Ms. Hackney.
Good evening, commissioners.
Good
Hello.
evening.
Good. Thank you for having me in place of Director Tate in his absence. I'm going to talk about a new city service that we're implementing starting now. So the city is offering a waste oil and tire disposal removal. So this is for all residential residents at Red Bank. The main objective of this service is to reduce the amount of improperly disposed of used oil within our city, while also encouraging residents to be good stewards of the environment. So at the end of each month, we intend to run a report of how much we are actually picking up and properly disposing of. So there are some general rules for pickups, which I've also laid on each one of your desks. So it kind of just goes over general pickups. So each residential property is allowed 3 pickups a year. So this includes your waste oil and tires. So the main oil types that we're taking are going to be engine oil, hydraulic fluid, transmission fluid, brake fluid, power steering fluid, antifreeze, and drained oil filters. Cooking oil is not accepted. Accepted oils must be placed in a sealed container, preferably the one that originally came in. And we will pick the tires up with a max of 8 per pickup. This service is at no additional cost to our Red Bank residents. And you would just be able to go onto our citizen portal to submit a work order request to select either waste oil or tire removal.
Or they call you personally on your cell phone.
Available 24/7.
Thank you for your dedication.
No problem.
So this will be among the options where previously you would do a brush pickup request or a bulk trash pickup request. Now there's more options
Yes, ma'am.
available. Excellent. Any questions from Ms. Hackney?
I don't have a question, but I would just like to reiterate the statement you made about reducing improper disposal of oil. After I got to do my public works ride along last week and was in the one-armed bandit with Carlisle, I'm learning about, the reason why we don't want you to dispose of your oil in there is because it goes in the garbage truck and busts open. The oil leaks all over the garbage truck, and then they have to clean all that out in addition to like remediating, around the ground where it spills out and things like that. So, also, please don't throw like heavy metal objects in your garbage can that busts up our garbage trucks. Carpet rolls, please call for bulk trash pickup of those. Don't put them in there because that can get wrapped around the arm. That's
Armband.
yes, and can cause it to malfunction. So I'm going to be a really strong advocate for this now that I've personally seen this, and almost had to stop the truck with Carlisle so that he could pull the roll of carpet out that was about to get stuck. So anyway, just wanted to emphasize that point that you made, and thank you for offering the service to help with that.
And if anybody ever has, any residents have questions, if we'll take something, just give us a call and we'll try to figure out if we can take it. If not, we're going to refer you to somebody that definitely can take it. So.
Not to pour it in the side drains, because
Yeah, don't do that either. Yeah.
We don't
Like
want
that. Very bad.
Our storm drains go to our waterway. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much,
Thank
Ms.
you very
Hackney,
much.
for introducing this new service. Next item of business, approve purchase of 5 radios for the police department, resolution 24-1720. Chief Seymour.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, so we like listening to the radio and tunes and radio stations, and these are,
Sirius XM.
whatever. I'm joking. No, these are two-way radios, police radios, right? As y'all know, y'all approved in last commission the first order vehicles, and so these radios are for equipping those vehicles. The cost of these radios are part of the debt services loan that was budgeted for this year. These radios are being purchased on a state contract. Overall, that's a state contract pricing for the state, which purchasing guidelines allows us to be able to do that. So,
Excellent. Any questions for the chief?
who's installing them?
the vendor, the equipment vendor, which is on the next line item, so they'll be installed, or they'll be pre-wired, and we'll just put them in. But depends on when they come in.
All right, we'll keep you up for the next item then, which is approve purchase and installation of vehicle emergency equipment for the police department, resolution 24-1721.
Well, as you know, last commission meeting, you approved the purchase of some vehicles. So this is to have those vehicles equipped. So even though the vendor that does provide the vehicles will outfit vehicles, we have chosen another vendor who actually this time is on a state contract as well. So they recently did one for us, and we were pleased with their services. Emergency equipment is not cheap, and so as you can see that by here. But again, this was built into the cost of the vehicles, the debt services for this current fiscal year. Well, I mean, the debt services for continuation, but yes, so that's for those vehicles that we just ordered.
Okay, any questions on that item? All right, if not, thank you very much, Chief. We'll move on to our next item 7, approve contract for temporary labor for leaf collection and other fall season labor through Total Resource for an amount not to exceed $18,000, resolution 24-1722. Ms. Hackney.
Yes. So the resolution before you is an agreement with Total Resource Staffing Services for seasonal temporary labor 1 services for our leaf pickup this year. This is a budgeted item Director Tate prepared for in order to ensure our solid waste department runs smoothly when leaf season begins.
Okay, any questions?
Are you sure fall's gonna happen this year?
What if the leaves stay on the trees this time? Oh, I will just use this as one more opportunity to briefly remind everyone that you don't have to dispose of your leaves if you don't want to. If you leave them on the ground where they fall, it's actually really great for wildlife habitat, especially if you're a fan of fireflies. That is where the firefly larvae overwinter. So if you want more fireflies on your property, just keep the leaves there and save our public works team some time and effort. But if you like your green grass year round, you sweep them to the curb and we'll come vacuum them up. Thank you, Ms. Hackney.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 8, memorial dedications and or donations. Resolution number 24-1723. Park Manager Gravy.
Good evening, Commission. I hope everybody is well. Today I'm bringing forth a resolution as well as the guidelines for said resolution for guidelines for monetary donations to fund city parks and recreational public spaces bench and tree program. So we recognize the public's desire to donate certain items to make our public spaces better. The city also in turn wants to make sure that those donated items, one, don't overwhelm and overfill our parks to create it in a recreational space that is not desired, but also to make sure that those donations are of quality, of high standard and caliber, and that they are uniform to our park so that it doesn't look like a mismatched puzzle, and still give those people the opportunity to make those donations. So we're proposing currently just benches and trees in our parks. And with that, we would follow the native species ordinance for tree donations. And for bench donations, I'm working with our facility managers, Justin, to come up with which benches we want, the plaques that would be inserted in them, so that we have a verified vendor that can give us the high quality benches to make these donations fit our parks. We will also be allowing 3 lines of text with 18 characters each for plaques for the benches, but not for trees, because obviously we don't want to put a plaque into a tree as that would damage it. And also for our public works laborers, trying to mow around or weed eat around plaques in the ground would make it too hazardous for them. So this outlines how somebody would go about if they wanted to donate money to get a bench or a tree in their name or their family's name. And like I said, I'm working with Justin to create a pamphlet of these are your options. All of these will come through the Parks and Rec division and either say, yes, we have space to do this, or no, at this park we don't. And it has been vetted and looked through with our attorney and our city manager.
Excellent. Any questions for Mr. Gravy?
I love it. It's great that contributions can be made to honor or in memory of somebody. Yeah.
Absolutely.
especially as we're looking to expand park space with our conversion.
Did you, I don't know if you mentioned, did you mention that the trees would need to conform, I think, to our native tree list?
Yes, from our native species list, ordinance 23-1239. So it would have to be a native species in there that's on that list. And then it would also have to fit the right park, so that we know that it's going to be in an area that can grow. For example, many of you know, and some might not know, that White Oak Park was previously a landfill. And with that, there is a cap on the surface. So certain trees with their roots growing down could break through that cap. So we can't put trees in certain spaces. So all decisions of the locations will be decided and finalized by the Parks and Rec division. People that are wishing to do these donations can have a request for an area, but that doesn't mean that they will receive that. And then all items do become city property once purchased.
So who's your tree specialist in your Parks and Rec division?
Our native species ordinances.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Gravy?
All those people you supervise. That's all.
A Parks and Recreation Advisory Board that these will be brought to as well, and we have somebody that is quite the tree knowledgeologist.
Absolutely.
New word.
Yes. All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Gravy. We look forward to voting on this at our 6 o'clock meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more item on the agenda today. Approve electronic device and computer usage policy, resolution number 24-1725. And I welcome our CIO, Seymour.
Good evening.
I hope you switched hats.
I switched hats. So as y'all know, y'all been hearing for the last several years about digital transformation and progressing technology and all that. So this is kind of part of that, right? Where we're expanding. We want to go move away from paper as much as we can, provision and staff and all with like computer devices, which also includes y'all. So the commission. And so part of this is for that reason, as we're moving forward, we needed to develop a policy for when we issue devices on kind of understanding what kind of the rules are, right? And so that's kind of what this outlines is. It's a step forward towards that, to be able to outline that. We look down the road, we want to continue developing more of our policies and having comprehensive plans, and we need to do other things for our IT department for some recoveries and protocols and things like that. So this gets us moving forward towards that, and also allows us to be able to get some laptops, CD laptops issued into y'all's hands. Y'all can have those and access your work documents wherever you need to. So anyway, that's what, but this policy is kind of effective for that, not only for that, but it would be effective for other city employees as well.
Okay. Any questions for Chief Seymour? All right, thank you very much. Great to have more policies in place. Okay, we have reached the time for citizen comments for items on today's work session agenda. Mr. Granum?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the time for citizen comments. Please observe these rules. Comments are limited to 2 minutes or less, and the city recorder will operate a timer. Please respect her direction and conclude any comments if time expires. Comments should be addressed to the board as a whole and not to a particular commissioner, city staff, or the audience. The commission is here to listen, not to respond or engage in back and forth, so please do not expect a reply during public comment. At this time, citizens are invited to the podium. Please begin by stating your name and address.
Okay, if there's no citizen comments today, then do any commissioners have any other business to discuss? All right, if not, then we'll adjourn this meeting and reconvene. Oh, I'm sorry, Leslie.
If after this, before, if we could get some photo ops.
Absolutely. Yes, nobody run away. We'll do some photo ops right after this, in between our meeting and reconvene at 6. Thank you all.
We made it through a work session agenda.
I know, right?
When does that ever happen?
Never.